Inflation has finally hit FPL. Let's take a look at a Haaland plus Salah team that can help you catch those price rises. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we'll be discussing a Game Week 4 Wildcard team. Before we get into that, a quick thank you to everyone that is subscribed and liking these videos and consistently being in our streams on the weekend. We are nearly at 7,000 followers or subscribers, and to be honest I never expected that, and I'm still a small enough channel but we're growing by the day. So thank you everyone who is supporting. Really means a lot, and I look forward to the rest of the season. So nearly at 7,000 subscribers. If you haven't already, make sure you click that button, and while you're down there, click the like button. Let's get straight into the video. So in front of you, I do have the goalkeeper and the defence. But before we get into that, I kind of wanted to speak more generally about maybe pressing that wildcard button and why you do it and weigh up the pros and cons. So I think in general, a lot of people are hitting that wildcard button in Game Week 4. And I don't think it's a bad spot to play it. I just think there are probably better opportunities in the future to play it. What are the cons? So I really like the fact that you can react to the price changes for sure, and build up some early team value. What else do I like? I like the fact that you can kind of target fixtures early on. Get on the likes of Mbeumo, who doesn't have great fixtures, but a lot of people will be targeting and bringing him in. And also get rid of some of the dead wood, like your Barco. Maybe if you brought in a Nedeljkovic or maybe a Johnson, and move them on to assets who maybe rotate a bit better. I also like the fact that you're doing it in an international break. We've 2 weeks until the next fixture. So a lot can change in that space of time in terms of injuries. A lot of players will be travelling and they might even play for their international teams. And during the international break, we do tend to see the odd injury. So if you are wildcarding this week, a lot of people might own that player, and you can just easily move him out. So what are the cons? So I think for me, the wildcard 6 window probably makes a bit more sense. You know, right now you'd be wildcarding in Arsenal players who do play Tottenham, and it is a nice fixture for attacking players. But then they play City the following week, so I think I would prefer to maybe hold off and maybe stay on a double or triple Liverpool that some people are already on. I myself am on that. I also like the fact, or I also don't like the fact that you're doing it in a week where I feel like you're kind of reacting to the price changes. I haven't seen price changes like this in a while in FPL, or if ever, but they're actually they're absolutely mad, and they're changing every single day. And I feel like people are kind of looking at that a bit too much, and they're getting rid of a lot of players that you might want to hold on to a bit early. Like for example, Bruno, who hasn't returned and he plays Southampton this week, or even Isaac, who plays Wolves away this week, who's an amazing asset still, but he's dropped in price. So that's kind of my thoughts on it generally. I would say try not to hit the button if your team is in somewhat decent shape. But if you really feel like you need to do it, I mean, go for it. Why not? It will work out, and there is some definitely short-term benefit to grab. So let's go into this wildcard team that I have in front of us. So on goal of Emi Martinez, Lewis Dunk, Konate and Konsa. Now I know what you're thinking. Choi, why do you have Konate? He cannot cover Robertson and Trent. And to that I would say you're right. He can't. For 5 million, there's no way Konate is going to be anywhere near the attacking returns that the two boys have. But I would say, you know, he probably will cover the Liverpool slot, if that makes sense. No pun intended. But hopefully, maybe he comes up with 6 pointers when they do keep a clean sheet, and I do expect him to play regardless of the Champions League. Again, we do have a player on the bench who can slot in if he does end up missing out in some minutes. But for me, I feel like Konate has been fairly nailed. At the start of the season, he's been one of their best players. These duels he's winning, we're starting to see, and the commentators pick up on it quite often. So I definitely do like Konate as an option. Not one that's being talked about a lot, but for 5 million, I feel like he does the job. But again, he's not going to cover the two lads. So on goal we have Emi Martinez. Probably I should have started with him, but I'll take him and Konsa as a pair. They just both have really, really good fixtures. I feel like on an early wildcard you can really target the fixtures. And they do have a spell of 6 or 7 games where they can keep clean sheets. They have Everton at home this week, a nice entry point for both of them. It is a small bit riskier taking a punt on a double defence, especially when they've not been great at the start of the season. But I do think Villa will eventually start seeing some clean sheets. So I feel like Martinez maybe has compared to the other keepers in the league, he's a good penalty saver also. So for the odd chance he does get a penalty, I would bank my money on him saving it. So you might get the odd hole if you get a bit jammy. Consa, on the other hand, 4.5 million. I feel like he is a great option for sure. He's probably nailed on to start with that Diego Carlos injury and the unsurety of a right back like Nedeljkovic. Not probably going to be nailed on, so he can also play right back. So Lewis Dunk with that Ipswich at home fixture, I feel like he's a good aerial asset, and for 4.5 million, he gets starts, he's nailed on, and he has a really good run of fixtures. So I feel like anyone that went Dunk at the start of the season, fair play, you're done well. But again, in general, this defense maybe is a small bit thin, but like I said, this team has Haaland and Salah, so you have to make sacrifices somewhere. So that's the defense, 4 home fixtures. Let's get on to the midfield. Okay, so moving into the midfield, we'll start with the weakest link in my opinion, which is Rodgers. Rodgers with an amazing fixture with Everton at home. Now I know Villa haven't been the greatest at the start of the season, but I feel like Rodgers for 5 million, what else do you want from an asset at this price point? He gets minutes, he's playing in the 10, and Villa are a team who will score goals. So he completes the triple Villa in the team, but I feel like with those fixtures you can target those for sure. Watkins will have 2 weeks off with the international break, so hopefully he can get up to speed. And I feel like Rodgers should have a return or two. Very unfortunate not to have anything in those first 3 weeks, sorry. But again, he wasn't amazing against Leicester away, but you're hoping with this Everton at home fixture he can get something. And Everton haven't been great. I feel sorry for any of those Everton fans, unfortunately, with that 3-2 loss against Bournemouth. So that's Rodgers. I think for 5 million he's still a really good asset. We'll take Mbeumo and Eze as a pair. So Leicester are home for Eze and City away for Mbeumo. Probably 2 of the best assets in the game at that 7 million price bracket. Eze coming in at 6.9 and Mbeumo coming in at 7.1. Collectively 14 million. And I feel like from 14 million you get a lot from these two players. Eze on free kicks and penalties, Mbeumo on penalties, and a very nice opening fixture for Eze. Leicester probably one of the easier fixtures at home in the league, and I feel like Crystal Palace are due a big win. A lot of people got rid of Eze, and I think in those first 3 weeks we saw what he's about. Regardless of if he's returning or not, he's an excellent option. And we just haven't seen him haul very big yet. But of course he scored a screamer last week, and for any of the owners that held faith in him, congratulations. And Mbeumo on the other hand, a very difficult fixture this week against City away. But City seem to leak goals, so I don't think I mind starting him if I were to bring him in. Again, I'm not on Wildcard personally, but if I were to, I do think Mbeumo would be starting in my team. If anything is going to happen for Brentford, Mbeumo is likely to be involved, and especially with Tony going out and going to Saudi, I feel like Mbeumo steps up and can do a lot. So Mbeumo is still quite young. I know he doesn't look it, and I think now he is starting to build that experience, and he's ready to step up as the main man at Brentford. And I do class Brentford as slightly above a mid-table team, or maybe just at that mid level. So they will score goals. An amazing asset at 7.1, and understandably he is rising in price. So moving on to Salah and Saka, who we will take collectively as a pair. 2 of the best assets in the game as midfielders. Salah probably the best at the price, fair price, coming in at 12.5. I think he got a rise to 12.6. And Saka, of course, coming in at 10.1, who is phenomenal. I think against Brighton, those first 20 minutes we saw Saka play, he was outstanding. And as a non-Saka owner in my actual team, I was terrified. So yeah, Salah, of course, with that Nottingham Forest at home fixture, who can do some damage. Maybe he can return for that 4 consecutive week in a row. He's been amazing. I feel like as the seasons go on, Salah is getting better and better. And it's funny because at the start of the season, we were a bit skeptical on how he would be in this Arne Slot system. And as he gets older, I think he's 32 now, how he would get on. But he seems to be getting better and aging like fine wine. So Nottingham Forest at home, a deadly fixture for Liverpool. And you do expect Liverpool to score goals in that game. Moving on to Saka, he has Tottenham away. Maybe not the best fixture, but on an attacking standpoint, definitely Saka can return. So you don't mind starting him in this fixture at all. I feel like Saka is probably one of the best options in the game. I class the top three as Salah, Haaland, and Saka for the price as premiums go. And I just feel like he is phenomenal. This season, he's really starting to shine again. And with the likes of Sterling coming in, I think we will start to see maybe some earlier subs or maybe some rotation in the Champions League in cup games. So Saka, I expect to be rested a small bit and be way more fit for the Premier League games. And I think going forward, like I said, in game week 6, where we do see that fixture run, Saka could be an amazing option. And I think definitely everyone will have him come that point. So you have him in place for when those fixtures do come up. And definitely an amazing option with the penalties. So looking at this midfield, I really, really do like it. I suppose the only weak link is Rodgers. But again, when you have the likes of a Salah and Haaland draft, you are going to have to make sacrifices. And that does come in the likes of a Rodgers. And in general, when you do wildcard, you want to set yourself up so you can roll for the following game weeks. Especially wildcarding so early, you've nothing to fall back on if stuff goes south. So the idea would be hope that these players, I feel like looking at this team, majority are fairly nailed. Who do I see could be a rotation risk? I would say Rodgers when Champions League comes up, but again, likely with Bailey being out. And maybe a Konate, he might miss out on the odd game due to Gerald Kwanzaa. But for me, Konate is their second best defender, or second best centre half. So I do expect him to start most of the games. So let's move on to the forwards. So to complete the 11, we've got João Pedro and Haaland up top with a bench of Fabianski, Gabriel, Mosquera and Wheatley. So we'll start with João Pedro, one of my favourite assets in the game. Thankfully, I have him in my own team. He's rised in price to 5.7, which has been amazing. And he has Ipswich at home, which is, you couldn't ask for a better fixture to be opening. I know I said that about Leicester, but equally Ipswich are just as good to be playing against. So for me, João Pedro, he's probably fairly nailed. He's not travelling on this international break to Brazil. So it's another opportunity for him to build up even more fitness. He has been playing 90s. So in the first 3 fixtures, he did play 90. And he moves into that number 9 position from being, or when, what's his name, gets subbed. Why can't I speak? So he moves from a number 9 position into a number 10 even after the subs. And he's never the first to be subbed off. So I really do like João Pedro as an option. And for me, if you're wildcarding, he's a must with that opening fixture. I imagine everyone that is wildcarding will have him in. Next, we'll move on to Erling Braut Haaland. 7 goals in 3 games. Absolutely ridiculous carry on. I don't know how he keeps doing it. But very happy... for you Haaland owners, congratulations. You're getting on these hauls early. And I feel like anyone that has gone Salah and Haaland are absolutely killing it. Most likely inside the top 200k for sure. But for me, I really do like Haaland. Don't get me wrong, 15.2 million now, very expensive. And I'm sure you Haaland owners would love me saying that. But yeah, definitely the best striker in the game without a shadow of a doubt. Brentford at home, it's a game that I'm not going to say he can score another hat-trick. I don't own him in my normal team, but he definitely could. I wouldn't be surprised. And this is a team that is without Phil Foden, one of their best players last season. Kyle Walker is still not in there. And Rodri is still getting back. So this City team looks quite scary. Haaland is doing that, and it's probably the last season we see KDB as well. So a lot of players who are going to step up again, and it looks like City are on for another title. Of course, Arsenal battling with him. But yeah, Haaland, I don't need to say too much about him. He's in the team. And there is some sacrifices in this team that you have to make when you do go for the likes of a Salah, Haaland and Saka. So if we go into the bench, we have Fabianski, where Areola did pick up a bit of a knock. I don't expect Fabianski to play too many games, and with the likes of Martinez being nailed anyway, I'm not too worried. So he's just kind of there to fill a space for 4.0. Next we have Gabriel against Tottenham, of course. Gabriel is probably the best defender in the game in terms of, Arsenal are so good defensively, and we've seen at the start of the season, 2 clean sheets to start it off, and an unfortunate red card against Brighton. I don't think it was a red, but Gabriel definitely a very good option aerially as well. He can always pop up with the odd goal. We have Mosquera just for Funny business? Nah. At 4 million, you know, he probably does start for Wolves most weeks. And maybe down the line you could probably play him. And of course we have Wheatley, who, again, I don't look into it too much. I just have him there to fill a gap. So yeah, in general, I do very much like this team. What is it missing? It is missing a Cole Palmer. But again, you could probably get there if you want to sacrifice a Saka after game week maybe 8 or 9 when those fixtures do start to turn. But of course you need to cover that Arsenal attack somehow, and you could go from a Salah. So my general thoughts are, it's a very good team, and Wildcard this week doesn't look too bad at all. But again, I feel like if it were me, I would be going with either Haaland or Salah, still, only because I feel like you can still do a lot more with that. But again, nothing wrong with the Haaland and Salah draft. It looks very, very strong on paper. I just feel as the weeks go on, you could be stung. So that's the end of this video. Again, lads, I really appreciate the support on here. It's been absolutely amazing. If you could hit that like button before you go, it'd be much appreciated. And I look forward to doing more content. There's plenty more for me to come. We'll be doing a team selection and a transfer plans. So that is the end of this video, and goodbye.